Alright, it's time for another album review. It's been a while. Man, it feels like it's been forever. Um, but it's necessary to get caught up on this album for sure. Now, when it comes to the MiSaMo album, I guess, I'm going to give it the same treatment that I normally do. So, like the songs that already have their own music videos and reactions and stuff, we're not going to be doing those here since it would be kind of a retread of the first reactions to it and everything. So I'm going to pick up with the remaining tracks on the album. So we've got, I believe it's a total of 4: Behind the Curtain, and then Funny Valentine, It's Not Easy for You, and Rewind You. Now, on the for the Do Not Touch reaction, I had kind of confused myself because of we got trailers for the sort of teasers for the Do Not Touch video, and then at the same time there were snippets for the 3 songs, the Funny Valentine, It's Not Easy for You, and Rewind You. And the concept for Do Not Touch seems very similar to the It's Not Easy for You. So I was quite distracted by the visuals that were going on at the time for the Do Not Touch video. It happens, you know what I mean? It's like, but I was getting a little bit crossed up between that song and the It's Not Easy for You. I'm pretty sure the one that Mina wrote, right? Because what she was describing sounds very similar actually to Do Not Touch, right? Like it's kind of a parallel sort of concept or idea or theme, right? But I realized that after the fact, but everything objectively said about Do Not Touch still stands. I just had a kind of a mixed up interpretation of it there. But I'm going to go ahead, and I've done 4 before. Like usually, depending on how many songs, I might stick to like 3 at a time. But I've gotten away with 4 songs before. Like I've pulled it off before, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna try and do this in one go. Like we'll do this in one video since there's only 4 songs on the album, right? That I have left to listen to. I have lyrics, so I'm going to follow along with those, but they're not my usual source for lyrics, so I don't know, as far as how accurate they are. It seems like it's reliable, so I'm gonna just go with it. I think it's probably gonna be close, right? Like even if it's not like 100% or something, it'll still be pretty close. But let's go with the Behind the Curtain. This is the second track off the Masterpiece album.
Ladies and gents, let's do something amazing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are my monica, that's it.
Baby.
暗いストリートに滲むジャッジムード一瞬で心を奪い去るインビテーション誘うようにボリュームを上げてためらいは必要ない Come closer
Step up, step up, no you wonder 恐れないですぐ
Welcome, welcome, gonna whisper
耳元
気づけばもうそこは my area
開いた幕に輝くステージ
視線抜けて触れたテンション暗闇の中もっと見せて表情隠してもバレバレよあの反応 made me crazy You like it I show more now
Romance とは一味違う新しいジャンル作るの You and I yeah
ちょっとの予想見ても全部見逃すから Focus on babe
On the stage, on the stage more
Listen to what my climax 高まるステージ
Oh baby 瞳すらさずに 直に say what you need 叶えてあげるから華麗に風の見たことのない景色 more Now is the time 最高のシーンで光の中へいざ now 引き寄せ導くわ Wanna some breath つかの間 intermission
あなたに turn switch ほらスポットライトこの幕が降りる前に take a option
Yeah yeah yeah
迷いなんてもう
Yeah 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 今更でしょ Yeah 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 そこに catch up ひらめく世界のレパートリーは続く Let you go follow your heart baby 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 瞳そらさずに Hold it more and more Baby 正直に say what you need 叶えてあげるから
華麗に風の見たことのない景色 more
Now it's time 最高のシーンで光の中へいざ
Yeah 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 yeah
On my wanna get that same night
Wow, man, what a super cool jazz song, man. Like this is a jazz jam right here, man. I love the instrument sounds. There's something about this song that almost sounds, like early JYP or something, you know what I mean? Just because it has that jazz sort of bop type of vibe to it. There's some really really good instrumentation that's going on. Like these are some jazz musicians. I mean, at the very least, they have spent like a considerable amount of time playing jazz. You can tell. It's in 4. We've got piano sounds, we've got stand-up bass, we've got that wonderful jazz percussion that just feels so crispy. The acoustics on this track, it feels like you're in some sort of intimate room, setting, like this almost like lounge show, you know what I mean? Like the space that they've created is so tight, like it's really really tight. This isn't like a big huge expansive sound. This is as if you're in almost like a private showing, you know what I mean? And that kind of works really well with the concept also for the song. But it's incredibly cool. The little descending lines, boom, 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 boom. Right, it's the 8th notes, right? It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and mainly sticking to the piano to provide like its rhythm, and even moving the chord progression. Really, the bass, stand-up bass sound doubles it, but also there's some interesting runs in there too. There's each sort of instrument that's used in the mix gets to, and this is like very what makes it jazz, right? Is that each instrument gets to kind of do a little run, or do something that feels a little bit more like improvisation, right? And so that in addition to a lot of the chords, right, they're super jazzy. So we're getting like 7th chords that are being used. And it's got wonderful color, like tone color all around this, like all throughout it. The trumpet sounds, these nice little trilly type trumpet fills that are going on. It's like super swinging, man. Like it's cool. It's cool, man. Like this is a cool track right here. The vocals are also, it's like it might be a little bit more of Marshmallow because of how consistent it is. Like there are very little breaks in the vocals, right? Marshmallow's like once it starts, it kind of keeps going, right? Do Not Touch a little bit of more of a reserved type of structure and delivery on it, because it kind of serves that concept as well. It's a little bit more of like a I want to say tease, but you know what I mean. Like it's allure. It's like a little bit of like it's using the idea of like you want to get close to try and entice you to get a little bit closer. So behind the curtain, it's very actually busy as far as like the vocal melodies and the harmonizations, and we get that kind of song structure where there aren't too many instances of chords being outlined in straightforward harmonization. There's a few, but there are a lot of independent melodic lines that will be running at the same time, kind of over each other. And it sort of just fits in outlining the chord progressions and moving from one to another. But it's a wonderful, even a tempo like this, song has it's a bit progressive at times, it's changing up its rhythms a little bit, but it has such a wonderful swing type of feel to it also, when it has these wonderful grooves that are going on, a chorus section, and it feels so intoxicating, kind of, you know what I mean, like it's really cool. This is really, and it's a wonderful instrument choice for this song. It's like straight up jazz, man. This is, you know what I mean, like this is it's like they just went all in on jazz. So this is interesting, right? Because thinking about the overall album, there's so many sounds in it already. I mean, Bouquet is a very sweet type of ballad, made for I believe it was a drama, so it has this soft and very sweet sort of feel to it. Do Not Touch, right? It's a little bit noir, it's a little bit sexy, right? Marshmallow, that it's like lo-fi bop it's also super cool, right? Like it's just cool, right? And this is like a super swinging jazz type of song. I mean, they're giving us quite the color palette as far as like the different sounds, right, that are on this album. It's quite comprehensive. So, but that was cool. That was just cool. Like there's no way that like anybody can listen to that if you even if you generally just enjoy certain sounds, jazz sounds and everything. Like maybe it's not your forte, or it's like if you're not all about jazz, but that's still like a very cool song, you know what I mean, like that's enjoyable, I think, to just about anybody. Okay, let's see, let me bring up the my lyrics here for reference. I need to find the track here, okay, and see if we got, okay, we're in luck. All right, so Funny Valentine. Sometimes I like to try and take a look at the lyrics before, but it's like normally when I look up lyrics, it'll be from a site that has the different parts already like color coded and everything, so it's very easy to follow along and keep track of like when parts are switching and everything. But this is very much just like, black and white. I mean, there's no like strong indication of anything. It's just like it's just there, it just goes, through each line and everything. And so it's a little bit of a task to kind of make sure you don't lose your place. You got to look for certain things, certain lines, or certain words to be able to make sure that I'm on track here. Okay. Funny Valentine. Now, this one was one of the snippets. Man, okay, let's see. Because the snippet was pretty cool, like I gotta say. But let's see, let's see what the whole track sounds like.
Moonlight あなたがくれた曖昧なこの感情は Baby I do not need to know it yet Tonight 二人の時間の重要性 Tick tock tick tock 分かってないのねふざけているのどうして You got me Come closer to me just like a me 正体はもう仮面外して My funny, funny Valentine夢まで Funny, funny Valentine 満たして All at the time 情熱で溶ける甘い愛のチョコレ Dance da 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 寂しくしないでいつもそばにいて気になるの Tick-tock冷たい瞬き集中して私だけに You got me Come closer to me just look at me show me まっすぐなその目を My funny funny Valentine I owe you my Funny funny Valentine 証明して笑ってた情熱で溶ける甘い愛のチョコレート大胆になれる Funny Valentine My Valentine Like a funny funny 赤いリボン結ぶ Our butterfly You're on my mind いつから You stole my heart あなたに I just want you to hold me tight 私を抱きしめて You don't know me well enough yet I don't know if you can handle me 本気というものなら Every day is Valentine Funny Valentine 夢まで Funny funny Valentine 満たして笑ってた情熱で溶ける甘い愛のチョコレート衝撃が走る You're a funny Valentine My Valentine Like a funny funny 赤い炎へつく揺れる Moonlight
Man, so that track is like super cool also, man. The strings is what's okay, so what's going on is there's a little bit of old and a little bit of new, right? The bass sound is very, I mean, that's like synth bass that's going on, right? And along with this very electronic sounding percussion kit sounds, right? The snap of it, right? The pop of that snare, right? It's too it's so sharp, you know what I mean? And then at the same time you've got piano and you've got strings. So a lot of so those elements, right? They're symphonic, and the way that they're used here is very, it reminds me of perhaps like a concerto arrangement, something like that. Because it's very classical, right? The motif that you have going on for the intro and for the hook, this dee da dan 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 din dan dan, right? That's definitely it feels very romantic period, right? It's this motif written for a string part, and then you also have that sort of bridge section in there where there was a whole arrangement for strings that was going on that totally changed up the rhythm, right? And then there's also this wonderful piano sound that's going on that's doing a lot of these descending lines. It's got that main descending progression that's going on for the chorus, which is fantastic too. Like, this song has such a fantastic chorus, man. But it's got this really cool feeling to it, this really cool groove. It's sounds a little bit bigger. So behind the curtain, if that has like this more intimate feel to it, right? Like the setting of it feels like it's much closer, right? This is a little bit more expensive than that. It feels like it's a little bit bigger, especially because of that bass. But it's a really great sound for when the mix kind of drops out, right? And that strings motif comes back around, and it's so it's actually very rich. Like, that texture and the tone of that specific string part is very, very rich. So when the percussion drops out and that bass sound drops out, and you just have that almost like ringing of these string sounds that accompany that part, but it's fantastic. It is very dark. It's very noir, and the violin sound, that the way those strings sound to me is very, very red. So like if I have to assign a color, sometimes something that sounds very bluesy makes you feel, like the color blue, like that's what it does. This sounds like the color red over a very like deep dark noir type of feel as well. So it's such a great way of actually demonstrating this concept of like Valentine. It talks about chocolate, it talks about where was the line, okay, red flames sway with heat on this moon night, right? Where's the next one? Our butterfly ties a red ribbon. And like that's what that violin part is doing. It's very romantic period sounding. Even the idea itself of the song, right? Like this is something that we get derivative of romanticism. So man, but it has that. It's a wonderful, wonderful like demonstration of incorporating some of those more classical type of like ideas and styles into a more like contemporary and modern type of song structure, right? And composition is incorporating both the elements of something that feels very timeless too. The violin sounds, the string sounds in this song feel, like they could have been done a couple hundred years ago, or like they could have been done, today, or even like 100 years from now. Like there's something about that sound that's incredibly timeless. It's really well done. Like compositionally, this is really, really impressive, brilliant stuff, man. It's really good, man. It's really smart. It's really smart. This album does different things, it gives you these different feels and these different vibes, but every time it does, it's incredibly smart, man. Like it's incredibly clever, all the composition behind it. I kind of also like the vocal arrangements too, kind of give the same impression, where Momo's so far in this album, she's really hung around that lower portion of her register, right? So it has this very full body sound whenever she sings. The other parts that are going on in the vocal, which I'm readily assuming is Mina and Sana, right, providing a lot of these higher melodies that are going on. And so just like the piano and bass in the mix gives it a more deep, dark type of feel, and then you have the violin part over the top that's giving it this very cool, like reddish type of flashing, flaring, swinging type of sound, swirling kind of, right? The same thing is the same sort of dynamic is kind of at play with the vocal arrangement, where Momo is now providing the rich sort of deep end, and then the ad-lib stuff that's going on over it, these wonderful little fills and these little licks and everything, these vocal licks that are going on, they have that much brighter, narrow, very stringing type of sound to them. It also has a bit of that reddish type of tone, a bit of that reddish type of feel to it. So it's very, very cool, man. It's very, very cool. Like it's impressive. Like I like, it's impressive how smart this is. It's not surprising, like this isn't a surprise, but man, just to actually like hear it, it's incredibly cool stuff, man. Like this is a fantastic album. I'm not even done with it yet, but it's it's already just, you know, it's fantastic. All of the songs that I've heard so far are incredible, dude. They're incredible. What great musicianship, also. Or the you know, whoever played these parts, right, is so competent. Because the absolute essence, like the emotional content, right? The it's just so well done. It's so perfectly done. Even that little motive, right? The dee da dun dun dun. It's you know, it's like laughing, crying almost. You know what I mean? It's like it's a very specific type of intonation and everything that needs to be used when playing just that little bit of a theme, that part that's going on there. You know, but it's done perfectly. It's done perfectly. And you know, you can record it and then sample it essentially, and you know, use it wherever you need it to pop up again, which is probably most likely that's the way that it was done, you know. But even to capture it, like just enough, just long enough to get that part down. But it's really high level musicality that's throughout, like the entire, like the all the composition, the entire, every part in the mix, right? But it's very, very cool. It's really cool, man. This is a cool album. Okay, wait, Funny Valentine. Okay, it's not easy for you. Next song. Let me get the. There we go. Okay. Now this one, I believe this is the one that has a little bit more of that rock feel. Even got that little second there in the beginning. Okay. It's not easy for you.
Taking my hand and close your eyes その時には too late 息もできないほど、溺れたら最後夢のような My world you can't 引き込まれる無謀な考えは捨てるのもんちゅ心のままに女性君に夢中もっと空間を味わって Focus on me その身を任せて Focus on me Focus on, focus on me It's my eyes, come on a breath He's never falling down 抜け出すことなんて It's not easy for you It's not easy for you 足を踏み入れたら Don't be afraid ただ突き進めばいいだけ飛び越えた境界線その先へ戸惑いとスリルの無限の奥もがくほどハマってく Unforgettable この魅力は危険な Sweet Poison 一度覚えたら虜になる朝も昼も夜も Crazy for me 何振りかも was crazy for me Crazy for, crazy for me 重なる近づくなぞ僕に後戻りなんて It's not easy for you 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 Needs metal eyes Look another brother Please give a falling down Look at us go to Monday It's not easy for you It's not easy for you
Man, dude, this is crazy. Like, that's okay. Because for the snippet, we heard a little bit of that guitar sound. It's so muddy. It's so like, oh man, it's an awesome guitar sound. Like, it's awesome, dude. It's so awesome. It's like, it's kind of like that Seven Nation Army type of sound, but with like more distortion, like more grit, uh, uh, and kind of a richer type of sound, like underneath that. Um, this whole song, of course, the concept, it's not easy for you, right? It's got this yearning, like there's this longing in this song. First of all, the vocals were wild. I don't know if, man, like, was that Mina's low end register, because it was so deep, man. I think it's like with the pre-chorus section. There's one part in there where it's just like everybody kind of drops down low in their register, and it's. I'm like, oh man, it's almost like haunting a little. Like there's elements of this that start to really brush up against like horror almost. Um, the that guitar riff that's going on. This is really cool. It's the tempo, right? Is it's pretty down tempo. Like it's not that upbeat, right? Like the pace of this song. And so what's going on with the guitar riff is that it's like it's this use of triplets, right? Where it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 lolly, 1, 2, 3, 4 lolly, 1, 2, 3, and it keeps going basically back and forth, between a couple of chords that are being used there, but it feels like crawling. It's designed to make you feel like you're, almost like crawling through mud, or like you're you know what I mean, through quicksand or something. Like there's something that is holding you back, like 'cause you're trying to move forward, or you're trying to move to something, but you're up to your neck, and it's so like every movement that you make has so much weight to it, right? And at the same time, the percussion has this like skeletal feel almost. So this it's like you're a skeleton trying to crawl through the mud or the quicksand, so it's as if you've been stripped all the way down to just this frame, and you're being compelled to move through all this resistance, right? It's almost like it's like trying not to sink or trying not to drown or something. And it's wonderfully dark, like right, like for something that's dark but to also be so like enjoyable at the same time. It's quite interesting, man. Like it's quite interesting. This is the side of Mina then that it makes you think that she could really play like the part of a vampire in a movie or something. Like Mina's she's very cool, she's very sweet, she's all that, but there's this mysterious side of her, man. Like there's this this side that nobody ever has access to, right? That's this abyss. It's like this it's this unfathomable realm of just something that can be very dark. And I think she's done what this song accomplishes is like almost an enjoyable little tour into that space. And it's oddly satisfying. Like there's just something about it that at the same time that it has that like yearning, desperate, like it's a bit of a cold desperation, but there's like just enough there to give you a bit of resolve and actually make it like super satisfying at the same time. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird. It's weirdly enjoyable for something that is quite haunting at times, but it's very entertaining. It's very engaging what that song manages to accomplish there. It's super cool. It's so minimalist, but like it's also very rich at the same time. It's this paradox of things that shouldn't work together, maybe in some aspects, but they work together really well, actually. And I've never heard a vocal range like that before. Twice doesn't really do that, right? Like, I mean, they can do it, but they just don't often do it like in their songs. And of course, that was something that informed the entire album. They talked about that before too. It's like, we want to show you something different. We want to show you something that we haven't been able to show you before. And it's a little bit dark, and it's a little bit cool, and it's a little bit cold at times, and it's a little bit sultry. It's a little bit enticing. You know what I mean? So it should feel a little bit weird. It should feel a little bit uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like at first. Because you're like, oh, okay, we've never done this before, we've never been here before, I don't know, but it's actually done really well. That's an interesting song, man. Like, I think of all the songs on the album, I'm probably going to spend the most time really listening to this. It's super like, there's little subtle things in this song, because it's fairly straightforward. There's not like super complex rhythms that are going on, or super complex chords that are going on, but the way that everything in this particular song is handled is wildly intriguing, man. Like, there's just something about it. This is definitely a bit of a spell that has been cast. Okay, so Rewind You. Okay, here we go. Oh man, this is weird. I missed my old lyrics page, man. I hope I can use that again soon, because this is totally different. But anyways, on to Rewind You, and man, that'll basically be the album. Okay.
Rewind, I'ma make it rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make it rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make it rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make it rewind. Shito, shito,雨が降る Rainy, rainy, yeah. あの日を思い出し Crazy, crazy, yeah. 思い出したら恋しくなるの。今まとして待った君を I'm so into you. What you feeling? Tell me what you feeling. 夜中の子分かっててもまたささやくんでしょ I miss you. 弾けそうに甘い思いが広がり出るたびにだんだん二人またきっと繰り返すこの感がいつまで続かないことを知りながら Rewind, I'ma make you rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make you rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make you rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make it rewind. 澄んだもやに埋もれたみたいに前も周りも何も見えなくて思い出したら恋しくなるの今まとして待った君を I'm so into you. What you feeling? Tell me what you feeling. 夜中の子分かっててもまたささやくんでしょ I miss you. こぼれそうに甘い思いが広がり出るたびにだんだん二人またきっと繰り返すこの感がいつまで続かないことを知りながら Rewind, I'ma make it rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make it rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make it rewind it. Rewind, I'ma make it rewind. To you 言えなかったこと意味のないかけらもない甘い言葉で並べただけの関係はもうこれで終わりにしたれそうにその中でほどける手と手が今夜を触れ
there's it's a bit of sadness to this song. Like it's incredibly nostalgic. The that sort of lo-fi guitar work that's going on right from the beginning. That's where you hear those little licks, that dun 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 dun. Interesting that that gets voicing in different pitch or different different pitches, right? There's a higher one, and then there's sort of a mid one. There's a massive like the bass sound on this is huge. It's incredible. It's got like tons of weight to it. But there's like a very inherent sadness to this song. It's not like the others. Like, you know, it's like it's wild. There's so many different sounds on this album. There's so many different places that it goes to. You know, that there's cool stuff. There's kind of like haunting stuff. There's like super jazzy, relaxed. You know, very alluring. Like it's man, it's got so many different sounds. But this is the one that kind of stands out the most, actually, because it has this almost melancholic type of undertone to it. It's really a kind of a trick, you know, because you get that the pre-chorus, or like right at the end of a verse, I guess. I'm not sure if it's pre-chorus really, but it ends with a low, you know, almost spoken type of lyric, right, with the "I miss you" part. And then when the hook comes back around, man, it jumps way up in pitch, right? Like, I mean, it's it's such a dramatic change, right, in terms of just pure pitch, but also it goes to the utterly just melodic delivery after, you know, right after that, the next thing that you get hit with after a very sort of gentle, almost demure, like, you know, repressed type of delivery at the end of that "I miss you" line, right? There's an inherent type of sadness to a regret almost, right? Like and then so that when that chorus hits, when that hook comes around, it's almost like crying, you know. It's almost like it all just pours out all of a sudden. And the lyric, you know, so I mean, like it's really quite reflective, and there's, you know, it's kind of just like the end of a relationship, you know, and it's quite a like a troubled relationship, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like there are some parts that are good, but then it's like, no, there are some parts that are bad, and kind of being stuck in this cycle almost. And that that main guitar lick that's going on, which is also a hook, that's very like demonstrative of that cycle, right? The way that lick starts a little bit high and then comes, you know, it basically descends, but then it reloads and goes back to up to the top where it was, and it just, you know, does that over and over again, and it has almost a fugue-like quality, the way that it switches voicings and from sitting up at the top and then moving to a more mid-low range. I have to listen to it again. I don't think I heard it anywhere near the bass, and I didn't hear it specifically in the vocal part either. But the way it just moves around, you know, is also, you know, like something something that's on your mind, and like at times it's like really on your mind, and it's like right up at the front, like, you know, you kind of, and then you move on because you have to do like other things, but it's still in the back of your mind somewhere, and you know it's going to come back, like as soon as you finish, right, like what you have to do, and you sort of have like the next window of time that you have, you know that that thing's going to come back and be right at the in the front of your mind again. um, but it's very cool. It's a really nice mix, man. Like everything in it, that bass is massive, dude. Like it's huge. For this song, everything else being so light, almost you know, almost floaty, feathery, right? The except for the vocal at times, and it just has this real pensive, reflective, you know, type of sadness to it. It's it, I think it has like probably the strongest contrast to the rest of the album, with maybe the exception of Bouquet, but that's because, you know, it stylistically has to kind of suit another purpose. Um, but compare, if I look at like all the other songs on the album, right? Rewind You it's not the same as the other songs. It's very different. The closest thing that it would be Marshmallow, and that's because of the lo-fi instrumental sounds that are in there. But it's got a completely different feel. Like it's not going for the same thing at all, really. What an interesting album, man. Like this is it's incredibly creative. The different concepts for the songs, you know, the the way that it sort of evokes all of these different ideas and things, it's incredibly smart. It's brilliant stuff compositionally, in terms of the actual like musicality, the performances of all of these different parts, you know. It's very, very high level. It's very high caliber stuff. um, and it's such a gallery of these different ideas and these different spaces and these different styles and these different sides of Mina and Sana and Momo. They're very complex people. We always get, you know, like a certain perspective on it, right? Like we always get, you know, Mina, Sana, and Momo, right? And everybody's very comfortable with that. But really, there's a lot to them as people, as individual people. They're quite complex and sophisticated, and you know, they just, there's a lot more to them than, you know, it doesn't mean that what we know from Twice and everything is like disingenuous or something. No, that's not it at all. Like that's them too, right? But there's so much more that frankly you just don't have time for, like in the realm of like Twice as a group, right? You just don't have time for it. You just can't get there. It takes something like this in order to be able to really express it and really experience it and get into it, right? But it is an absolute gallery of so many different ideas and emotions, and it's really something special that they've created here. I will I will spend a lot of time listening to this album for sure before I really feel like I, you know, get to understanding exactly what's being expressed here. I can tell generally, you know, and with some trepidation, but to really, really, you know, understand them, it takes some time. But on on that note, man, what's Gio's album gonna be like? That's gonna be crazy, man. That's gonna be wild. I've already heard some of those little teasers that have been released. It's actually really cool because she's showing like a clip of a Pro Tools session that's got like the workflow area and the different tracks that are there. And I think it's going to be really impressive, man. This was just beautiful. It's a bit challenging in that you have to follow them into some of these spaces that haven't taken us before. So right, there's a little bit of dissonance there, a little bit of cognitive dissonance, right? But it's quickly resolved in the purpose that each song serves. And I think overall, yeah, this is something that's really special that they've created here. And I'm really happy they got the opportunity to do it and to share, this work with everybody and these ideas and this other side of them. And I hope we get more. I hope there's another MiSaMo album or many more actually. I would like for them to continue to do this, because if they can take us here, they can take us to some pretty wild places, and it'll be fun. Like it'll be a really cool time, man. Like it'll be a blast actually. But this is actually quite a gorgeous album for sure. From every part of it is actually really, really just quite beautiful. Man, MiSaMo masterpiece. It's it is a work of art without question.